It's 6 p.m. here in Korea. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Che. Let us begin with the headlines. At Tuesday's cabinet meeting, President Park Geun-hye reveals plans to speak with key representatives of the three main parties this Friday, delivering on her promise to better communicate with lawmakers. One of the main topics will be North Korea's renewed nuclear threat. A massive parade was held to mark the end of North Korea's historic political congress. With the title Workers' Party chairman under his belt, Kim Jong-un further cements his grip on power. Steps are being taken to quickly set up the foundation dedicated to providing compensation to Korean victims of Japan's wartime sexual slavery. Most importantly, the survivors of the atrocity respond positively to the measures. President Park Geun-hye once again called for a greater focus on the economy and national security at this week's cabinet meeting. Fulfilling a pledge to improve communication with lawmakers, the president also arranged a meeting with representatives of the country's three major political parties later this week. Song Ji-sun has our top story.
Putting the people first through dialogue and negotiation. That's how President Park Geun-hye vowed to approach her relationship with lawmakers in coordinating state affairs and national policy. The president will sit down with the recently elected floor leaders and chief policymakers of the country's three main parties on Friday afternoon, fulfilling a pledge to improve communication with the parliament.
앞으로 정부와 새로운 원내 지도부 간의 대화와 타협을 통해서 민의를 최우선으로 하는 정치가 이루어지기를 기대합니다. 이런 만남을 통해서 국민의 뜻을 하나로 모으는 소중한 기회가 마련되었으면 합니다.
At the meeting, the president and the politicians will discuss ways to enhance their cooperation and coordinate policy, and the possibility of meeting regularly once the parties have settled their leadership structures. Livelihood issues and reviving the economy are likely to top the agenda, along with North Korea's renewed nuclear threats. At a cabinet meeting on Tuesday, President Park also touched on North Korea's claim to be a nuclear state made by Kim Jong-un at the Workers' Party Congress that closed Monday, and she characterized the regime's actions as a sign that it's unwilling to improve inter-Korean relations.
남북관계 개선을 위한 진정성 있는 변화는 보여주지 못한 채 핵 보유국이라는 억지 주장과 함께 핵 능력 강화를 밝히는 등 국제사회의 경고를 무시하면서 도발 위협을 지속하고 있습니다.
In order to overcome challenges on the national security and economic front, President Park once again stressed that all involved parties should come together as one and stay clear of political strife that undermines the country's interests. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
North Korea held a large-scale ceremony in the capital of Pyongyang this morning to mark the end of its Workers' Party Congress, the first in over 3 decades. The North's state-run Korean Central Television covered the ceremony live for about an hour and a half. Lee Ji-won tells us more.
A red wave of flowers filled Kim Il-sung Square and calls praising North Korean leader Kim Jong-un filled the air. North Korea celebrated the closing day of its 4-day Workers' Party Congress with a mass parade in the capital of Pyongyang on Tuesday morning. Some 10,000 Pyongyang residents came out for the event, chanting and waving flowers until Kim Jong-un appeared to a rush of applause. The young leader was flanked by Hwang Byung-seo, a standing member of the party's political bureau, and Park Bong-ju, cabinet premier. They were followed by some 60 other officials, including Party Secretary Choi Ryong-hae. Kim Yong-nam, president of the Presidium of the Supreme People's Assembly, gave a speech welcoming the crowd.
The Central Committee sends its warmest greetings to the people and soldiers who glorified the Congress as an auspicious event.
He also praised the young leaders, saying that by faithfully following their one and only leader Kim Jong-un, they will always be victorious and shine with glory. People continued chanting the leaders' names, saying Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il, glory, and more. At the end of the parade, Kim Jong-un walked around the platform for about 5 minutes, waving at the people as they cheered. Lee Ji-won, Arirang News.
Coming back to South Korea, the country's leading political parties are scrambling to seize key assembly posts before the start of the next assembly session at the end of the month. Ji Myung-gil helps us paint a clearer picture of the silent but intense competition.
The deputy floor leaders of Korea's three main political parties met for the first time on Tuesday and vowed to work together to iron out contentious issues before the new parliament assumes its duties at the end of the month. Afterward, the deputy floor leader of the minor opposition People's Party, Kim Kwan-young, gave a statement on behalf of his counterparts.
We agreed to meet as often as we can in order to resolve impending parliamentary issues through dialogue and compromise.
The leaders did not, however, discuss what is already becoming a major point of contention: which party should hold the speakership and who will chair the 18 parliamentary standing committees. The post of speaker usually goes to the largest party, which in this case is the main opposition Minju Party of Korea with 123 seats. But the largest party is usually also the ruling party, which is currently the Saenuri Party with 122 seats. The Minju Party is also demanding to chair the Legislation and Judiciary Committee, the most powerful of the 18 parliamentary committees, because it is the last to review bills before sending them for a full floor vote. The ruling Saenuri Party claims it should chair the committee, especially if Minju holds the speakership. The minor opposition People's Party, the first major third party in the assembly in 20 years, asserted its newfound influence and sided with Saenuri, saying Minju can't both hold the speakership and chair the Judiciary Committee. The People's Party also urged the two leading parties to set a schedule for incoming lawmakers.
The three parties must finalize all the key assembly panels within this month and start the 20th National Assembly in early June.
The People's Party's rise has reset the landscape of parliament, and it will be interesting to see how it uses its position as the potential swing vote in the next National Assembly. Shin Eunwoo, Arirang News.
Moving on to other stories now, it's been more than 4 months since Seoul and Tokyo reached a landmark agreement on Japan's wartime sex slavery. While time is ticking for the few surviving elderly women who are still alive, Seoul says there is visible progress in the implementation of the deal. Kwon So-hwa has the latest.
One of the main points of the landmark deal reached on December 28th last year between South Korea and Japan on the so-called comfort women issue was to establish a foundation run by the South Korean government through which the Japanese government would compensate the victims of the Japanese military's wartime sexual slavery program. Now, more than 4 months later, Seoul's foreign ministry has laid out a time frame for that part of the deal.
If possible, we are aiming for the foundation to be established within the first half of this year. And for that, we're pushing to launch a preparatory committee within this month.
A ministry official told reporters Tuesday the ministry's Northeast Asia chief, an official from the Ministry of Gender, Equality and Family, and others recently visited individual victims across the country to explain the implementation of the deal. Among the 29 individuals, 5 of whom were consulted over the phone, 26 were said to have been positive about the creation of the foundation. But the number excludes the women who live at shelters for comfort women, who have generally been the most negative about the deal. According to the official, the 1 billion Japanese yen, or roughly $9.2 million provided as compensation will be reserved for the surviving victims and those who have died. The funds won't be used to construct a building for the foundation, and the administrative costs will be kept as low as possible. But the government will still have to meet with all 44 of the former comfort women who are still alive today to listen to their wishes, as that's what counts the most. Kwon So-hwa, Arirang News.
Tech-savvy Korea has what it takes to help the drone industry become a leader of the global pack. If potential has a shelf life, we should worry, as there are tight local regulations that keeps the industry from reaching its full potential. Kim Ji-yeon looks into what the government is doing to remove that glass ceiling and provide greater support.
The potential of drones in the mainstream market are considered endless. All you need is a remote control, a drone device, and fast internet connectivity. So it may be a surprise to find that the drone market in Korea, one of the most wired and technologically advanced countries in the world, is facing massive challenges. It becomes a bigger conundrum considering the country ranks the 7th in the world in terms of level of drone-related technology, according to a study by Britain-based consulting firm Frost & Sullivan. The same study also shows, however, that Korea only stands as the 30th strongest country in the world in terms of drone sales. The Drone Industry Promotion Association attributes the discrepancy to tight regulations as the main factor that's hindering the country's potential drone growth.
No one wants to put up with administrative work required to test drones. On top of notifying related authorities a week beforehand, there's also additional regulations to consider, depending on the weight and electromagnetic wave frequency of your model.
In comparison, the global drone industry is flourishing, particularly in neighboring China, where there's virtually no red tape to deal with. China's drone industry is estimated to have pulled in $700 million last year alone, ranking 3rd in the world in terms of sales. The Drone Association says the global drone industry as a whole is expected to grow into a $12.5 billion industry by 2023 from the $5.3 billion estimated in 2014. In response, the industry ministry says it will work with the land ministry to come up with ways to alleviate level of regulations to raise Korea's drone industry to the top 3 following the U.S. and Israel. The Korean government will set aside $37.3 million in 5 years starting in 2017 to build traffic management and surveillance system for the technological development and safe passage of drones so that they can take up the skies in the near future. Kim Jeon, Arirang News.
The smoking rate for adult men in Korea has dropped to the 30th percentile range for the first time, thanks in no small part to government efforts to help more people or force more people to kick the habit. Hwang Ho-jun has the full story.
It's been over a year since the Korean government stepped up its anti-smoking policies, and it seems as the effort was not in vain. The smoking rate for men in Korea, ages 19 and older, dropped to about 39% last year, a drop of about 4% from the year before. This is the first time that South Korea's smoking rate has fallen below 40% since the government started compiling related data in 1998. However, there are still obstacles ahead. Even with a price hike of 2,500 won, or $2.13 last year, a pack of cigarettes in Korea is still 4,500 won, or less than $4. That's about $13 less than in Australia, $3 less than the US, and about $1 less than Greece, which has the highest smoking rate in the world.
It's hard to say we're doing enough when the average price for a pack of cigarettes in the OECD is around 6,500 won, but we're at 4,500 won.
On top of that, e-cigarette use among adult men jumped 2.7% last year from the year before. The Korean government says more needs to be done to meet its goal of lowering the smoking rate for adult men to 29% by 2020, which is why on Tuesday it rolled out its so-called aggressive non-price policy to curb the use of both cigarettes and e-cigarettes without raising the price. The policy includes a campaign to place graphic images of the damage done by smoking on cigarette packets by December, a ban on tobacco ads within 50 meters of elementary, middle, and high schools, and an expansion of support for smoking cessation programs nationwide. The government is also seeking to hike taxes on e-cigarettes, pushing up the price. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
Turning to the latest in the killer humidifier sanitizer scandal in Korea, the former chief of Oxy racket Ben Kizer's Korean unit returned home after a grueling 17-hour questioning session at the Seoul prosecutor's office. Shin Eunwoo was grilled over the sale of humidifier sterilizers that resulted in numerous deaths and illnesses in Korea. Summoned as a suspect, Shin denied allegations he had prior knowledge that the chemicals in the sterilizers were dangerous. Prosecutors are expected to issue an arrest warrant for Shin this week on charges of manslaughter and negligence resulting in injury. These are the stories we're following at this hour. More updates coming your way at 10 p.m. Korea time with Moon Gun-young's News Center. For now, thank you for watching.